Hey, do you want to learn how to really take your Playwright automation to the next level? Well, you're in for a special treat today because we'll be talking with Ashish all about INGenious Playwright Studio and quality assurance at a large enterprise bank. If you don't know, Ashish is a seasoned test automation architect with over 12 years of experience. He has been instrumental in taking testing to the next level at ING Bank, where he leads the Test Center of Excellence. I haven't spoken to someone at an Test Center of Excellence in a while, so really excited about that as well. Also, he is the creator of INGenious, a low-code test automation framework, which I think you're going to get a lot of value from, and is really passionate about advocating and sharing his knowledge, which you'll see in this episode. You don't want to miss it. Check it out. Hey, Ashish, welcome to the Guild.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Really excited about this. I saw this on a few weeks back and had it on my news show. Got a lot of interest in it. So I guess we'll just start off with, could you give maybe an overview on what is INGenious? What are the key problems it's designed to solve?
Yeah, sure. So effectively, when we were looking at the testing problems within ING Bank, one of the things that came out was the lack of involvement of business users. Now, technically, testing is all about business requirements. I cannot just go around testing any random stuff of the software unless I know what the business that the software is supposed to fulfill. Now, the problem with coded solutions was that a lot of customer journey experts, as we call them in ING, did not find a lot of interest. They could not contribute, they could not collaborate towards creating good quality tests, automated tests. The other problem that we had was in ING, having a commercial solution like Tosca, for example, or Catalan, is a bit of a nightmare. Of course, with the license cost, and ING is quite heavy on open sourcing. So what we thought of doing is, there's a very big community in the outside world with Selenium. How about we build a framework on top of it, which makes automation with Selenium and, let's say, for APIs, HTTP client, and then wrap it around so that the end users or the customer journey experts could really understand this. We did that. And that was the inception of INGenious. And this happened some 4 years ago. But then, as technology evolved, as modern web came into picture, ING's web front ends had special qualities, which, even though I'm a very big fan of Selenium, I have to say we were facing troubles with it. And then came Playwright. And 4 years ago, in fact, I was the one who introduced Playwright within ING. And we thought, let's tweak this a little bit. Let's give Playwright a chance into the INGenious framework rather than Selenium. And it worked wonders. So now we have a situation where our business users, our customer journey experts, are able to write good quality automated tests and at the same time leverage the power of Playwright. And that's a humongous thing for us.
All right, so I know a lot of people start off with Selenium. We're not saying Selenium's a bad tool. It depends on your context and your situation. But I'm just curious, in your context, what were the problems, or what were the areas that Playwright did better than your implementation of Selenium?
Yeah. So one of the things that immediately comes to mind is piercing shadow roots, for example. Now we have a lot of web components which are, a lot of security layers are built on top of it, and it's a reusable set of components, templatized, let's say, and it's used across ING. These shadow root piercing within Selenium, I have done this with JS paths, but it's a nightmare. If you look at how a customer journey expert would look at it, there's so much of dynamic IDs that get generated, which had to be parsed into this JavaScript, and that was horrible. With Playwright, using something like a label or a text, it just pierced it seamlessly. So that was number one. Number two, we have a lot of intranet applications, so homegrown applications. Of course, we have applications which support customers, so customer-facing applications, yes, but 80% of the applications are homegrown. So there is a decent amount of latency, slowness in rendering. And with Playwright's auto-waiting capabilities, that was like Yeah, it was like moving a knife through butter. So these were two major aspects that I would say Playwright won over Selenium.
All right. So I guess the next question is a lot of times people just go to creating a new framework. There are a lot of frameworks out there like WebDriver IO that I think helps with the piercing of Shadow DOMs and everything, and Serenity. Um, so why go the way you did with creating your own framework then?
Yeah. So if you look at Serenity, or for that matter, WebDriver IO, and you build a layer on top of it through I don't know, something that helps communicating with customer journey expert. You would probably think of BDD, behavior driven development. So you'd have a Gherkin layer, but then somebody had to write the glue code. Somebody had to still come in and write the glue code for you to be able to make it more effective. So here we were looking at a setup where, what if we eliminate the need for writing glue code? What if the customer journey expert just comes in, simply writes, okay, click on this button, click on that button, and do an assertion, and an actual Playwright script comes in and does the assertion for you, then it eliminates the need of an additional hand holding. So there is a very seamless integration between requirements straight out of the business, and then it is immediately translated into good quality automated tests. And of course, it's too good to be true if you speak it in that way. There has to be a decent amount of hand holding initially, maybe the first couple of weeks, but after that, they're on their own. In fact, just now, before I was coming into this building for this interview, there was a specific segment that was dedicated where customer journey experts were actually sharing their experiences of using INGenious. So that was really awesome.
Well, that's cool. All right, so I want to dive into that. I just wanted to follow up. A lot of people also say, "Ray, I want to go to Playwright. I'm on Selenium." Obviously, you're at a large bank. You must have had a ton. I would think a ton of Selenium scripts. How were you able to migrate from Selenium to Playwright? And was that baked into the original framework to make it so you could just swap out libraries behind the scenes and no one would even know?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we did. So the layer on top remained as is. 80 to 90% of the work was just reused. So the way we have created the framework is it's the engine underneath that changed. So for example, if I say browser open and then a URL, instead of Selenium with driver.get, we now have playwright.launch. So yeah, so nobody notices the difference, to be honest. But I won't say that is the case for 100% of the cases. 20% we had to alter.
Gotcha. All right. So you mentioned how it's easier for business users. So how a lot of times people, like you said, use like Cucumber, BDD as the front end. Are you doing the same? What's different with this framework?
This framework has the capability of importing a Kirkin file and then creating reusable components. But then when these reusable components or step definitions, as we call it, right, come into the INGenious IDE, um, somebody, as I was explaining, right, somebody in a traditional framework would still have to come and do the coding, create that glue code. Here, we have eliminated that. Of course, we strongly advocate the use of reusable components, but do we really necessarily have to code those components? I don't think so. And that's what INGenious shows you, that you can just drag and drop, data parameterize it, and then you have it, an enterprise grade automated tests. But I must tell you something, Joe. The use of BDD, I mean, not just BDD. BDD is very good, but the use of Cucumber was or has is not very mature within ING, and for that matter, I've seen a lot of different implementations everywhere. There's a lot of implicit usage, explicit usage, and it's not uniform. They treat it as a test automation framework where it is not supposed to be one. So it was all about collaboration. It was all about having business requirements brought in, converted into tests, yes. And that is the philosophy that we wanted to propagate through INGenious.
Yeah, I agree. It's just extra overhead when you're just using it as an automation framework rather than a communication collaboration. So is this more like keyword driven then? Like I don't
Yes.
know what a banking feature is, but like add account dot blah 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 or something.
Yeah, so it is hybrid basically. So it is keyword driven. You can just simply treat it like a keyword driven framework. You don't have to use a Kirkin overlay. That's perfectly fine. That's one way of using it. The second way is you have the Kirkin overlay and then you treat it as a behavior driven. And the third type is a data driven format. So where you have all these automated tests, you just automate it once and then manipulate the objects, manipulate the data entry by making it data driven, so that all your different business test cases are then fed into the scripts using these CSV files, which are already preloaded into the INGenious IDE.
Nice. So no, you did mention like tools like Catalan, Tosca. When you work for a large enterprise, and this is huge, ING Bank. I worked for healthcare. You're usually testing more than a web application. Like it's not like a rinky dinky. I'm not putting down any other things testers test, but like this is like an enterprise grade, mission critical, audited type of software you need to test. So how did you get over that? Because like things like Tosca or UFT have they automate more than a web browser. So how did you? I assume you're testing more than web browser, I guess. And if you are, how are you getting over using just Playwright then?
So to answer your question, Joe, if you look at the documentation of INGenious Playwright Studio, and if you scroll down to the architecture, it basically says that it uses Playwright for browser testing, but it also uses Java HTTP client for API testing. But this was built at the time when INGenious was still having Selenium as the browser testing tool. But now we are also going to use Playwright for API testing, and it's still in works, and it's going to be released very soon. So we also use JDBC and ODBC connections for databases. We are also doing accessibility testing, and we are also integrating APM for mobile testing. So within a bank, it's not just the browser. The browser is just the interface. And to be honest, we have multiple such interfaces. So the API interface, the browser interface, we have fat clients. We, and we are using WinApp Driver, which is also a Microsoft library for automating fat clients. We have Java messaging queues. We have Apache Kafka and all these different technologies, in addition to databases and traditional file-based validations. So we needed a framework which was able to handle all of this. So all of these different capabilities had to be plugged in. Additionally, I would like to say we are not using the JavaScript or the TypeScript version of Playwright, which is hugely popular. We are using the Java version of Playwright. We had to have Java as the programming language because we were catering to different tech. Now, good luck with testing a Java messaging queue with a JavaScript based framework. That's not going to happen. So that is why it was a very conscious decision to go with Java.
All right. So if someone wants to, this is open source. If
Yes.
someone wanted to use this, so do they need to use Java, or is that just if they need to create their own methods, they would have to code it in Java behind the scenes for their users then to.
That is exactly what it is. So if there is any special method that has to be coded, they have to just open up the Java engine, which is nothing but a Maven engine. Just simply write your custom code or whatever, and then do a Maven clean install, and there you have it. All of Playwright's actions are basically plugged into it, so they don't have to use any special coding for Playwright, but they might have to write something for their program, for their application, which may use some special logic.
Nice. Is there anything that would prohibit someone from running this at scale? Can you run the framework like against like a browser solution?
Yeah, so this is very easily integratable with Lambda test, with the browser stack and Sauce Labs, and we have done these experiments over and over again. within ING, we have our own CI solution. We're using Azure DevOps, and then we just run these tests at scale. The whole purpose was to make sure that this is a Java solution. It runs via command line, and it can be triggered into as many parallel threads as much as possible. But then the only limitation is the agent on which you're running. If the agent allows you to spin up 10 threads, then yeah, very good. But it only allows you to spin up 2 threads, then that's where you're limited.
Gotcha. So you mentioned the different types of technologies happening under the covers, and I assume it is all under the covers. Like someone would just use the same keyword-driven thing to, I don't know what the keywords are for accessibility, but whatever it is, you can mix and match the
Yes.
web and then do an accessibility type
Yes.
action all in
Yes.
one flow.
Yes, yes. We even have built a setup where you write your functional tests, and then within the functional test, you can actually use a keyword like capture page timings, which basically captures the complete DOM load time and resource load time and everything, and generates very nice visual representation. All of that is documented in the documentation that I showed you, and we have tried to make it very user friendly. Of course, open for feedback, and if the community feels that there is more that can be added or something can be made better, more than happy to look into it and work together with the community to make it better.
All right. So I guess like how do you envision the open source piece? It is all open source. It's not a piece. How do you envision the open source community contributing to this then?
Yeah. One of the interesting things that happened very recently was Andrei Lushnikov, who's the founder of Playwright, was in the ING office, and we caught up for coffee. And then he said, "Hey, Ashish, show me INGenious." And I was a little nervous. And this is like 2 days, barely 2 days after INGenious went open source. And I was hoping and praying that, okay, if it has to go wrong, please don't let this be the occasion where it goes wrong. But in 1 hour, he was able to just navigate through it, create his own tests, run it via GitHub Actions. And then during that process, he shared a few feedback. For example, making some options like browser capabilities, like set headless or start maximized as drop downs. So he is our very first contributor to the open source project. What I genuinely hope from the open source community is to try it out, open GitHub issues, create pull requests if you have to. There are two projects basically: the documentation project and the INGenious project in its totality. Just feel free to contribute to it, suggest ideas. This is one solution that you don't have to pay for, and yet you're getting the perks of different types of testing. So yeah.
So yeah, you brought up a good point. A lot of times people think contributing to a project is just coding, but actually opening up bug defects and things like that is helping the project because you let people know there's an issue and getting them resolved that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have created a discussion forum on GitHub as well. So if there's anything that you would want to discuss, even just create a new discussion point, and then we start talking about it. One thing that I would definitely like to add for the folks out there, this has been in use within ING for 4 years now. Of course, 4 years back, this did not have the same level of maturity that it has now. So over a period of time, there has been a lot of improvements from the feedback that has come from the internal folks. And I think this is a product that you would really enjoy working with.
And that's a good point because, like I said, you're not testing toy applications. It's a true enterprise app. And I just asked ChatGPT how big is ING. It is 38 million individuals and corporate clients across more than 40 countries. ING serves. So it's like I said, it's been tested against real world applications. It sounds like.
Exactly. I was doing a talk over in a conference earlier this year. At that point in time, I was not at a liberty to share the name of this framework. Now I can, because now it's open source. And one of the slides basically showed where are the places within the world where INGenious has been implemented. So it ranges from Belgium, Netherlands, all these different countries in Europe to the US, Singapore, Philippines, yeah, everywhere.
That's awesome. How did you get them to do open source? I would think a big company like this would have so much red tape. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not even going to go there. Like, why? First, how and why did you get it open source?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question, and I think it also has to do with the amazing leadership that ING has, and the culture within ING is a culture of collaboration. Um, when I first pitched that idea to the head of engineering and culture, he just jumped onto that idea, saying, "Hey, this is one solution that." If it has already added so much of value within ING, then this can only grow bigger. This can also add a lot of value to the open source community, but at the same time, contributions will help make this a better solution within ING itself. Because now we don't have two different forks. We just have one solution which is used by ING and used by the outside community. And it also shows a very open-mindedness that is basically the essence of ING, to be honest, collaboration and open-mindedness. And the other factor was the process was not an easy process. I had to go through a legal review. I had to go through multiple security scans. I had to go through a lot of reviews. Eventually, the open source body basically approved it, but that's not the end of the story. I couldn't have just released it without a proper documentation. And that documentation also took a lot of effort to create, to have the right ING flavors, the colors, the fonts, and then eventually it was out.
Awesome. So I know it's been around for a while, but you kind of think you just open sourced it maybe a few weeks ago, if I understand correctly, a
That's
month
right.
or so. So
Yeah.
I know it may be too early to talk about future roadmaps, but a lot of AI is the rage everywhere. Any plans to incorporate AI driven automation, or is that because you have to probably rely on a model that's paid that is not on the roadmap?
Yeah, that is true. As you mentioned in the intro, I'm leading a center of excellence. One of the pillars within the center of excellence is the innovation pillar, and where we are basically strongly looking at the usage of AI. There have been few use cases within the bank which give us a very good confidence that very soon we will be able to leverage the AI capabilities within INGenious. We have the roadmap, we have the plans, we have the different use cases mapped out, but because it's not official yet, I am not at liberty to discuss that, but it's definitely on the cards. It's going to be very exciting, Joe.
Very, very cool. All right. So we mentioned one of the key features here. It leverages other technologies to help you do other types of testing. And we'll have this in the show notes, a link to the documentation. But does it also help you with DevOps in general? Like, does it do any type of monitoring, or is that outside the scope of what you want this to be used for?
No, so this is strictly meant for functional testing as of now. We are basically leveraging the capabilities towards generating performance tests as well from functional tests. So we are creating a feature now where you just right click, generate K6 scripts, and then it will generate performance test scripts for K6 runners. But it is not meant at this point in time. It doesn't do any kind of a monitoring. But we also have a feature where it basically links it directly to Azure DevOps test plans, which is meant for the test management. It's also documented in the link that you're going to be sharing. So yeah, no monitoring now, but that's a project that's also being built in parallel.
It's starting to sound like a Joe wish list, but how about test data? I assume as a banking company, that's something you probably like, oh my gosh, we have to create data and it has to be compliant and not using real information. Anything built in around that, or is that something you
Yeah.
could see happening?
Yeah. So there are very nice question. So there are two things. already there are a few capabilities which are built in. So generating random strings, random numbers, but those are basic utilities. In terms of test data, we have so far always been reliant on um, relevant business data. So we never gave it a thought. But since the day we have open sourced it, we gave it a real hard thought, and we thought, hey, we want to integrate uh, Java data faker library so that the end users could generate synthetic test data directly just by creating some keywords. So it's there. It's also going to be released soon. And because you talked about data, that is one of the use cases uh, that is being discussed for the AI.
Oh, really, really excited. All right. So you have really good documentation. You could tell you worked a lot on it. Is there any other resources you're working on to help people maybe get up to speed quicker with your framework?
Yeah, sure. In fact, one of the feedback from Andre was, can we have video tutorials in addition to documentation? And that is something that we are working on. We have created a very nice playlist, and very soon it will also be made available to the general audience.
All right, Ashish, before we go, is there one piece of actionable advice you can give to someone to help them with their Playwright automation testing efforts? And what's the best way to find, contact you, or get our hands on INGenious?
Yeah. So the only thing that I would say is, if you at this point in time are not using Playwright or are using Playwright and are not very savvy with coding, but you want to write real good automated test cases contributing to your business, try out INGenious. It's super easy, super fun. And if you have any questions, just please reach out to the GitHub page. Just create an issue, just start a new discussion. And we are really active there. We are really looking forward towards your contribution, and we would immediately jump in and start a nice discussion.
Thanks again for your automation awesomeness. For links to everything of value we covered in this episode, head on over to testguild.com/A512. And if the show has helped you in any way, why not rate it and review it in iTunes? Reviews really help in the rankings of the show, and I read each and every one of them. So that's it for this episode of the Test Guild Automation Podcast. I'm Joe, and my mission is to help you succeed with creating end-to-end full stack automation awesomeness. As always, test everything and keep the good. Cheers. Hey, thank you for tuning in. It's incredible to connect with close to 400,000 followers across all our platforms and over 40,000 email subscribers who are at the forefront of automation, testing, and DevOps. If you haven't yet, join our vibrant community at testguild.com, where you become part of our elite circle driving innovation in software testing and automation. And if you're a tool provider or have a service looking to empower our guild with solutions that elevate skills and tackle real-world challenges, we're excited to collaborate. Visit testguild.info to explore how we can create transformative experiences together. Let's push the boundaries of what we can achieve.
The Test Guild Automation Testing Podcast. With flutes and lyres, the bards began their song. A tune of knowledge, a melody of code. Through the air it spread like wildfire through the land, guiding testers, showing the secrets to behold.